Newcastle United, they couldn't get Tosin over the line. Even Dougie Freedman refused to join them. Is Eddie Howe to blame? Are the owners at fault? Can we trust the process? Let's find out.
Oh, brilliant from Sham. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Schär
Right, as you guys got it from the introduction, can we trust the process? Newcastle, since the takeover. I'm going to break this into two parts. I'm going to go straight into the actual structure of our board, of our owners, and our management. And I'm going to talk about and kind of go through the process of that, the steps that we've taken since. And then go into the second part, we're going to talk about the squad itself. And we're going to look at the process of Newcastle United and what's been going on. So let's get right into it. Let me add a little diagram for you guys. So this is a diagram, a draft of ideally, not all obviously football teams have it like their structure like this. Some have it in different ways, but ideally, and I know it says president at the top, but it's really for us, it's going to be the owners themselves. The director, sporting director on the left-hand side, and underneath him, sports science, coaching, management, all of that. And on the right side of the sporting director, you're going to have the CEOs, you're going to have commercial marketing, all those guys. So the idea being creating a hierarchy, from the top down, where you can delegate responsibility and you'll have people with certain expertise. So your sporting director, whether it's footballing, management, creating a structure that way, the CEO, the commercial, looking after the commercial, the financial growth of the side. You're going to have those people of expertise in the various levels of your management, of your board, working and on growing the club, on developing the club, and ensuring that there is always good, consistently good decision making in the process. So in order to go forward, we have to go back. And unfortunately, we have to go back just before the takeover. This was, if you guys remember what we just looked at, this was the structure that was left just before the takeover happened. We had Mike Ashley as the owner at the top. We had the director, Lee Charnley. Underneath him, we had head of recruitment, Steve Nixon, head of coach, the man who shall be not just joking, Steve Bruce, head of commercial, you know who that is, and head of admin. From what you guys saw just before that, where you can see that we're missing a lot of key people. And from the guys that were supporting Newcastle for a little while, know that at the beginning of his reign, Mike Ashley had a lot more board of directors. He had obviously Derek Lambis, he had Chris Moore, Dennis Wise was sports director. Who remembers that? That was shocking. But the problem for Mike Ashley wasn't the structure that he was trying to create, which was admirable. The problem was the personnel. He had people who had limited expertise. Dennis Wise, a sporting director of a huge club of Newcastle United, is a huge indicator of how bad Mike Ashley's choice of personnel was. So now that we know the issue that Newcastle were facing and the process, just before the process began, let's go into the takeover itself and see just how much this has changed. Right, folks. So what you guys can see before you is the structure as I've tried to put the pieces together. I haven't, for just to say, I don't have a blueprint to this. Like nobody showed me this. No one from Newcastle phoned me up and said, "Hey, this is the blueprint. This is our structure officially," and everything else like that. This is just me reading the news, looking at the website, and breaking things down. So at the very, very top, obviously the owners being PIF with 80%, the Reuben brothers, who now have for about 14.5 something percent, and now obviously Amanda Stavely and Midad Kadusi own about just over 5%. They are the owners. They will also have some of this in terms of directors. A lot of the owners are also directors of the club. Obviously, we have Amanda and Amanda Gadusi. We have Jamie Rubin representing the Rubin brothers. We have obviously Al Ramayan, and we have his execs there as well who have been working. I forgot the gentleman's name, but I know the lady's name is Asma, who have been working as the board of directors. They are the final decision makers in the club. And they also obviously talk amongst themselves about how the club is going to function. Going down into the management structure, the senior manager section. Obviously, we broke it down into the sports director, who we don't have anymore. We did have Dan Ashworth. We won't mention it too long, but we we did have Dan Ashworth is currently on gardening leave. That's on the left side, obviously, kind of looking at the football. Underneath the director of football, you may not have your head of academy, Steve Harper, Steve Nixon, head of recruitment, our head coach, Eddie Howe, and obviously head of sports science, who I couldn't figure out who that is. On the right side, taking care of the commercial, the business side, we obviously have our CEO, Darren Eels. We've got a CCO, Chief of Commercial Officer, Peter Silverstone, who's in charge of the financial growth, kind of the Adidas deals and all of that. The Chief Operating Officer, and I forgot the gentleman's name as well. It's the CEO, but he's in charge of the day-to-day running, the stadium, the buildings, the kind of ensuring that we are able to get everything that we can out of our assets in the financial sense. And obviously also our head of finance. So you can see from this, guys, there's a clear structure. There's personnel with expertise, guys looking at the financial side, guys who know how to make money, how to grow a business. Obviously, also and that's also reflected in amongst our board of directors, super successful billionaires, rich people. On the left side, obviously, the directors of football, who we've yet to name at the moment. But if you look, obviously, Eddie Howe and management, head of Steve Nixon. So we've got the footballing side and the commercial side all worked out. I also want to add, before kind of I move on from this, you can see how much this structure has been filled out since the Mike Ashley era. Mike Ashley obviously went from about 4 or 5 directors to down to just Lee Charney, and we now know in hindsight, which is 2020 vision, that he wasn't building Newcastle for growth. He was not like he was. Someone saying you can tell financially or on the football side. He was just wrapping things up. What's the point of having a chief commercial officer when we're not really interested in creating any commercial revenue? What's the point of having a chief of operating officer when we're not looking to grow anything in terms of our stadium and our operations? He didn't bother with that. What's the point of having a director of football when our football doesn't have any direction? So you can just see just how much things have changed, the steps that we have taken in order to be able to reach a goal of being a structured, well-structured, functioning, built to last, consistently successful organization, football club. The other thing I want to add, just before moving on, obviously the elephant in the room, the director of football, and why I think it's been a little bit nip and tuck and difficult for folks to get the director of football that we want. And partly it is because we've got such a good head of coach, is what I'm going to say. Because of Eddie Howe, I think good. And when I say because of Eddie Howe, I'm not blaming him for this, but he's not just a head coach. He's a throwback into a manager. We know that how he came into Bournemouth, for instance. He took it from absolute, like they had from nowhere, like the scouting, there was still paper-based scouting system. He took them from paper-based scouting system into a electronic-based scouting system. He was the scoutsman, the co-man, the coach, everything there. And so because of that experience, he understands how to not only coach a football team, but to a certain level, how to manage a football club. And so to get a director of football who is going to be able to work with Eddie Howe is absolutely key. And obviously, Dougie Freeman was the person we chose, but he's refused us. He's decided to stay where he is. So the next director of football is going to be very, very interesting choice. It's got to be someone who's willing to work with Eddie Howe and understand that Eddie Howe has a veto power and how, in terms of transfers and people coming in. So how would that person essentially work with that? So in conclusion, I can see and I'm sure you guys can see, there's a clear, in terms of our board, in terms of our structure, there's a clear process of steps taken by the owners to create a formidable structure that will last and be built for success, in my opinion. There are growing pains. We mentioned the sporting director, but this isn't unusual. For instance, at Liverpool, the situation that was between Jurgen Klopp and Michael Edwards, when they were together, they were brilliant. But Jurgen Klopp went over his head in terms of getting Naby Keita. I think it was Naby Keita or one of the players, sort of Bruno Gomes, or I can't remember who it was, and that relationship fell apart. So these are growing pains that are not unusual, unfortunately. But hopefully, in terms of steps and processes going forward, the owners, the management, they can resolve this going forward. So I think there certainly is a process that, I don't put my trust in princes. But when I'm looking at the process and I'm examining it like this, hopefully in an objective way, I can see there's a positive process going forward. And the sporting director is going to be very, very key. One of the final pieces, especially on the footballing side of things, that's going to pull all of this together. Right, now on to the playing squad, guys. And I haven't got every single player just yet. But the point of this, if you guys can see, from the left, I've got the players that we had just before the takeover, some of the final games where these players were playing. From the top, you got the left back, Matt Ritchie, left centre back, Lee Clark, right centre back, Federico Fernandez, at right back, Jacob Murphy. That's where we were. I don't know if you guys remember that, about 2.5 years ago, that was our back line. I think it can get worse as well. And guys, just remember to like, share, and subscribe as well. And you don't have to say, and in your comments, you can just say, I like the video. And just remember, this was our back line. This is what we were doing. This is what we had. We went from Matt Ritchie, for instance, from Matt Ritchie to a Matt Target. From Matt Target, we've gone to now to a Lewis Hall. I can see a clear process. I can see a clear steps in terms of youth, quality, even sell-on value in the players that we've got. We've gone from Lee Clark to Dan Burn to now hopefully Lloyd Kelly, who's been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano. So you can see a development, a growth to come from Shah. Then that right centre back position we all know is to come. And you can see a development that I think what Eddie Howe is aiming for, especially in our back line, is to have a tall, athletic, strong, pacey, good on the ball back line. Very, very similar to Man City, where you've got Gvardiol on the right or left back, right back, where you've got Ake, you've got Kyle Walker, Diaz, or John Stones, big centre backs, but great balance, great on the ball, allows the team to be aggressive in terms of pushing up front. And I think you can see what is needed, but you can also see, and I've left it here in terms of the market value of our squad. If you look at our defense, it's the least valuable at this current stage on our team. It's 150 million compared to 250 for the midfield, 220. And I know you guys know this, but I use price as an indicator of quality, as one indicator of quality. I know it's not the indicator, but as one of the indicators for quality. And it shows you that we've got a lot of work to do, at least between 80 to 100 million that needs to be spent on bringing that quality up to speed. But I can see the process, I can see the development, and I think I believe it to be working. Onto the midfield, you can see now also how we've gone from the only thing that's kind of remained static is our left midfielders, Joe Linton, Willock, and Anderson, who were severely underused and misused under Steve Bruce. But look what has happened under Eddie Howe, how he has grown the squad, and it goes to his coaching and what he has done. We've gone from John Joe Shelby to Bruno Gomes, and also the emergence of Louis Miley, a clear process, a clear development. From Longstaff to the long-awaited Tonali, that you can see that the midfield is more robust, more mobile, with quality, with skill, and all that is needed. The only thing I would say personally, I think we needed number 10. or and I know that we're not just going to buy someone that's specifically number 10, but someone that can probably work in multiple positions, but effectively a number 10. And so the name Morgan Gibbs White comes into mind for that. But you can see the development there, and I think probably the most developed part of our team at the moment is our attack, in my view, or not the most developed, but the most exciting for me. We've gone from Alan Maxi, where people are still sending posts online how much they miss him. I don't understand why. And we've got Anthony Gordon with a 20+ goal contribution, Harvey Barnes who's showing his worth, an incredible competition there. Alexander, we've gone from Callum Wilson to Isak, and Callum Wilson's likely to lead the season. We've got 20+ goal. Isak again. It's such an exciting front line. And also obviously from Miguel Almiron to whoever that right centre forward will be, who might be, like I said, Morgan Gibbs White and Buemo, Jarrod Bowen. It's a lot of exciting stuff. So I can see, when I'm looking at our squad, I can see a process where we've gone from a tacit, a conservative, a scared to play football on the counter, constantly praying the opposition doesn't score against us, to a front-footed, aggressive, creative, ball-playing team that we are now. And I'm saying to myself, I can see the process, I can see the growth, I can see the steps that have been taken forward by our team, by our club, to improve and becoming a very, very, very good team, and overall a very, very good club. So, and we can see going into this transfer window where some of those gaps are. So in terms of, can we trust the process? My main question is, I can see, and I don't know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like and share and subscribe. Even just write "I like" on the comments. It'll be great to have it, because the views are going up, which is amazing, and it's been shared. I would love to see a lot more comments. I'd love to see your responses. I'd love to hear from you guys what you guys think, from what you guys saw from the board, from this video, looking at the board, looking at the process, analyzing what the process has been. Obviously, we all know that it hasn't been perfect. We all can see that there's a little bit of issues from the boardroom, where we're trying to find that sporting director that could fit in with Eddie Howe. We're also seeing within our own team, within our own football team, of having to kind of juggle positions and juggle places, and who's going to be playing in the, can we fill these gaps, our goalkeeping department, all these type of areas. What are we going to do? But I can see a process. I'm very, very excited for the future in terms of what this club can achieve when we get that sporting director in, when we fill that right wing position or that number 10 role, even the emerging situation with Bruno Gomes. Is he going to go? Is he going to leave? It's a 50-50. If Man City come in, can we replace him? And from what I've seen in terms of how we've handled our recruitment, I'm very, very positive that we can find a suitable replacement for Bruno Gomes. But that's my thought. My overall conclusion is that there's a clear process from the top to the bottom. From the top, you can see that the club, the owners, have effectively created a board from the footballing side to the commercial side of people, of personnel, and a structure that is created and designed for growth and development, for the club to expand and grow. And you can also see from the footballing side that we have gone from a very counter-attacking, passive team to an aggressive, front-footed style of play, full of youth, and also certified Premier League players and winners. And the next step for that team is, like I said, not only in the recruitment of more talented players, but now can we take that step in becoming not only a regular in the European circuit cup competitions, but also start to win things, start to win trophies. So I'm believing in the process. I can see it working. Let me know what you think, guys. And until next time, guys, like, share, and subscribe, but also take care, and God bless, folks.